Hi there, welcome aboard the News Review. And we host Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. He is a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. But before I go to him, this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Here's what they're offering you. If you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. And here's where you can locate them. Here in Accra, they are at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronum Abwehia behind the Angel Educational Complex. In Takrade, Anaji Estates. There's also Tema Community 22, Tichiman Hanswa and Esiama and Zima. Their phone lines are the numbers you can call 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the top of the morning and the start of the News Review. A very good morning to you, Doc.
Good morning, Ben. How are you, my brother?
We did. Over the weekend, I saw something that reminded me of your fish farm. You know, there are these point and kill places, and I saw something, and this was catfish, and it just reminded me of your own fish farms. Is it tilapia you do, or catfish as well?
Catfish.
Catfish.
Yeah. I'm about to introduce tilapia.
Right.
I'm going through the process.
I just did a bit of research when I saw this. I did a bit of research on this, and I realized that, look, it's not an easy space to be in. Some people may think, oh, yeah, you get the fingerlings and you're good to go. Catfish are carnivorous, so you lose some of them through cannibalism if you are not careful. Yes. Then you have to feed them. When they are young, there are specifics you have to feed them. When they are older, there are specifics you have to feed them. If you buy proper feed, as in per their weight, and give it to them right from the start, you will incur huge losses. I mean, how have you been able to sustain this?
I have read extensively on that, and I also engage those who are stakeholders and who have knowledge in the business, and then practice. Through observation, I've been able to learn a lot. I have a farm diary, that I record every happenings, and then I go and ask questions and I seek answers. And thank God, those I consult, they are ready to assist me at all times. And it's interesting.
So finally, I'm just curious, and who knows, by having this conversation, maybe someone may be inspired to go into it. Maybe that could be your calling. But for how long have you done this, and how many catfish averagely do you have now?
I started last year, and I have about I think a little about 4,000 pieces. Yes, and we are moving on. Yes, we are moving on.
Well,
the difficulty with that industry is feed. Is so expensive, and then you need to be able to get some substitute, and that is what I am working on. But feeding is a problem because per bag you are running over 300, and if you should keep them for about 6 months, you know what we are talking about. For each pond that contains over about 1,000 pieces of fish. Then where they consume about 1 bag per day, and it's over 300, about 320 thereabouts for about 6 months, 8 months. You need a lot of money to inject into the process. But all in all, if you are able to manage it prudently and ensure that you do what is needful, I have no doubt in my mind that you are home and dry at the end of the day.
I do know that, just to cap off this end of the conversation, I do know that at some points, the initial stages with the fingerlings, some people even feed them maggots and others, which is common in fish farming. I don't know whether you've considered that. And I also know that if you grow them and you sell them fresh as they are, you lose a chunk of the money because when they come into the cities, there's a lot of value added. Sometimes these point and kill points, of course, they'll kill them, process them, dress them up, roast or put them in an oven and all of that, and then they pass them on. Even more, there are those who process them for export because they engage parties outside the country, and that is the best. So adding value always is the way to go. But anyway,
I'm exploring all those options. I have a cousin in the United Kingdom trying to see the European market. And then also there's an NGO that walks people through a training of smoking them and adding value. My wife has decided that he will also join with the smoking angle. And then we are good to go. The whole idea is that to be able to build something that it can get people employed and then introduce to the youth, and then let them finish school and get into something that is of economic benefit. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't plan on going down this road this morning, but I have because it just came to mind right when we started. And who knows who may have been excited about it and who could be pumping money into that. Of course, it will create jobs and also maybe help beat down the prices of catfish out there. But two quick things I want you to look at for me in a minute and a half, if you can. Parliament, the minority is still staying away from Parliament. For the first time yesterday, the majority sat in Parliament. They initiated business. Of course, there were some things they were not able to do because of the numbers. And then, on the other hand, the mid-year budget review, it's slated for the 25th of this month. Yesterday, I was here having an interaction together with George Riafe of our business desk and with major stakeholders on what to expect. Some people say clearly, we don't need any more taxes. What are your expectations on these two?
Yeah, I will touch on the NDC boycott. Yes, it's part of a strategy in Parliament to boycott, to stage a walkout and all that, to champion a cause that you believe in strongly. The NDC feel that there's a need to give their colleague moral support in court and all that. But for how long they will be able to stay out of Parliament is the problem, because per the rules governing their work there, that is from the standing orders, once you hit a number of days, you have sent yourself from Parliament, then you will be sanctioned and that. But
they could be absent with permission. That is different.
Yeah, but the permission, who is going to grant that? If you look at the conversation in Parliament and all that.
So the Speaker was merely alerting them that if you're going to do this, then let me remind you, you have a 15 day or 15 appearance deadline, sort of, or room within which to operate. So if you're going to do this, then you must trigger the necessary processes. I believe that was what happened in Parliament.
Yes, but there are strategies here. They will come in when they are getting close to the deadline.
Yes. And
they will stay away. When they are getting closer to the deadline, they come in and then they come on and off. That's what I'm expecting will happen. But they cannot stay out of Parliament forever. And majority can also not work without them, because even the start of work of Parliament, you need a quorum, about 1/3 of members of Parliament. You are talking about over 90 people in Parliament, and that is going to be a problem. You can start and gloss over, but somebody can trigger a legal process, and that will abort all there is that you have done.
Right.
So that is also there. It also affects certain bills. If you're talking about financial bills, you need the minority, however small they are, they must be part. And once you are moving into the budget phase,
the mid-year budget review.
Yes, you are going to need them at all times. So I think the leadership will have to talk and see the common ground in this matter. But I can see that it's not an easy conversation. It's a difficult one, because there are, gains and then losses that to be expected from this type of process. But come back to budget. Yes, looking at the economic conditions that we find ourselves, I don't think it's necessary for government to overburden us with taxes, because we are already burdened. If you look at the financial conditions we find ourselves, it's difficult for people to make ends meet. So you will not want to overburden them with a new set of taxes and all that. these things, as soon as you do, and we're getting closer to election, you know the implications. Apart from that, I'm not sure that it will bode well for a government that is trying to gain footing economic.
Hello, Doc. Well, we'll
look at the picketing going on. Look at, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. We lost you for just 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yes. I was saying that if the government, there's no point the government should go ahead and then introduce some taxes now, because the economic challenges that we are facing now are very serious ones. And,
right.
People are struggling to make ends meet. So a government that is trying to carry everybody along, a government that is trying to fix the economy and make life better, you don't compound the situation by introducing additional taxes that will create all manner of problem for society. And it doesn't bode well for a government that tries to break the eight, because all of these have implications on elections.
Right. So let's quickly get into the papers now. We'll start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. UGK and USD run unapproved courses. Authorities move to rectify the anomaly. I'll be getting into that story. There's also support our quest to transform economy. President Akufo-Addo to Portugal. Then there's Access Bank PLC, Standard Chartered Bank sign acquisition deal. Of course, the takeover, so to speak, of assets. Parks and Gardens cries for swift help. 90% workforce near retirement. That's a worry. And then government approves new salary structure for JUSAC. Speaking of new salary structures. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Now, the 2021 Auditor General's report has revealed that the University of Ghana, Legon, is running 371 unaccredited programs, including 80 undergraduate programs or courses. The unaccredited programs also include 213 postgraduate and 67 Doctor of Philosophy courses. Similarly, officials of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology also appeared before the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament and admitted that the KNUST was running a number of unaccredited programs. But the Registrar of the University of Ghana, Mrs. Emilia Ejay-Mensah, told the committee in Accra yesterday that 60 of the undergraduate programs of the institution had been fully accredited, while the university had put in place systems to ensure that all outstanding unaccredited courses went through the accreditation process successfully. In an answer to a question as to whether the statements were examined and issued with certificates on such unaccredited programs, she said, quote, once the programs are rolled out, certificates are issued. She, however, stressed that measures had been adopted to ensure that all unaccredited programs went through the accreditation process successfully. We know about the bottlenecks in this situation because coming up with a program and the accreditation process, sometimes it takes quite a long time and there are certain bottlenecks and universities go ahead and roll them out. But what do we do in such a situation? How do we bring this to the barest minimum? You lecture at the University of Ghana. What do you think?
Yeah, thank God Eugene has taken initial steps. I think 2 years ago, if my memory serves me right. And then they have detailed the process by which each of the units department is supposed to go through in order to get accreditation, and it's rigidly enforced. The Provincial Chancellor Academic Affairs has been very supportive in this direction, and all the heads have been made to work their courses through appropriate processes to get the necessary, accreditation. And they remind you from time to time. Each of the units, from your dean, from the provost, from everybody. It's so I can speak for Legon. Legon is on top of it. So I know in no time these bottlenecks will be addressed.
Well, let's get into that story on page 20. Maybe I'll start from page 13 with those two and then go to page 20. Let's get to page 13. It's the very next one. So, Parks and Gardens cries for swift help. 90% workforce near retirement. And the Department of Parks and Gardens, the state agency responsible for the development of the country's horticultural potential, is facing a human resource crisis as over 90% of its staff are due for retirement within the next 5 years. The retirement of the 369 staff has called for the urgent need for the department to fill the many vacancies across the country. The department, established in 1961, had more than 2,000 workers, made up of technical officers, gardeners, laborers, but it has lost all of them to retirement over the years without any form of replacement. Of course, there's this portion as well that says, we have also been provided with about 10 workers, but we need a staff strength of about 2,000 to make the department vibrant once again. So 10 vis-a-vis the requirement of 2,000. And you go to Parks and Gardens, the DVLA area in cantonments. It's a beautiful place, and people come there every first and third Saturday to sell their wares and all of that. But I'm wondering, even in terms of this whole drive to, what do they even call it? The planting we do every year, Green Ghana. This would have been a way of, integrating them into the fray. But as always, we'll complain. We're faced with climate change. We're being stared down by global warming, and we're not even paying attention to some of these things. There's also government approves new salary structure for JUSAG, and the government has approved a new salary structure for the staff of the Judicial Service. In a press statement issued last Monday, the president of the Judicial Service Staff Association of Ghana, Sammi Afote, said the implementation of the salary structure was expected to take effect this month. The association commended the Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Saki Tokonu, for her ingenuity and exceptional leadership with various stakeholders to arrive at that decision. We do know that they were, threatening some sort of industrial action on the back of some of these matters. So those two stories. Doc, let me just add this third one and have you react. So President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo has called on the developed world, especially Portugal, to assist Ghana to turn back its old economy, which is dependent on the production, export of raw materials and aid. He said Ghana wanted to build a value-added and industrialized economy with modernized agriculture, which was neither a victim nor a pawn of the world economic order. And he said the latest engagement would go a long way to strengthen the ties of friendship and the bonds of cooperation between Ghana and Portugal. Mr. President, though, you want to build a value-added and industrialized economy. Wishes aren't horses. You must put in place the right policies, the right fundamentals, like when I had the likes of Dr. Humphrey Ayimdake in the studio yesterday of the AGI, when Guta came, when people in industry came. It's not the rhetoric after what, 6.5 years. Where is 1D, 1F, 1V, 1D, one village, one dam, among others? These are the things that could have spurred on the development we want to see. Alas, it is what it is. Quick thoughts on these three, and then we say goodbye to the Daily Graphic.
Yeah, I think I will begin with the Parks and Gardens. This is a very important unit of the public in terms of the service that they deliver. They have a lot of responsibilities, and if they tackle them well, the benefit is all there for us to see. Over the years, they've done their bit, but I'm surprised to hear the story that it seems to me that there is no succession plan. Because how do you have a unit where people will go on retirement, where people will even resign, and then if some people are even fired, you don't have a plan of what sustaining people or maintaining the system. It's surprising, and it speaks volume of what we are seeing in recent times in terms of the work of Parks and Gardens. Take, for instance, the beautification of the city. The middle track of our routes where the plant has ended with them. These things are not kept in proper shape. Sometimes you see and you ask yourself whether we're in a forest and all that. So this one shed light on what we are seeing, because once you have a unit like this and we have inadequate staff, obviously the work will be jeopardized, and that's what we are seeing. Going forward, I believe that whichever organization which is responsible to oversee this, the work of this unit, must make sure they get their acts together and then, get going. But one thing that is also clear is that sometimes they also need the necessary funds to be able to turn things around. If you believe in beautification of the city and the rest of them, I think we cannot hold money to our chest, but give it to them so that they can develop and also support them with human resource. That's the way to go. I also look at the salary structure of a judicial service staff. It's a good thing because the Constitution makes it abundantly clear that people must be paid for the services that they render. So if you realize that a time had come for them, for their services, their remuneration to be improved, why not? Because that serves as a catalyst that speed up the reaction of people trying to give their all to the society. Anything that falls short of it creates all manner of disincentive for those who are in the industry. But having talk about incentive, then we also must tie it to what? The output. That yes, now that they've received something that they have worked for and it has been approved for them, we also want them to step up their game. The story of files getting missing and all that, the problems associated with judicial service, we want them to bring it to the barest minimum so that our judiciary will stand the test of time. I want to also move on to the present call for the need to improve agriculture so as to what? Move it into another level where there's a value addition. We have heard this time and again, and you did not mince words when you talk about the rhetorics we have received over the years for the past 6 years when we're talking about this government. It's becoming one too many, and every time that they mention, let's just move on to, let's move the country onto value addition level and all that. Sometimes I ask myself, are we serious as a state? And part of the problem is that we as a society has been so gullible, and we have not taken politicians on for the things that they promise us. And when we are getting to election, they come around and then dole out resources to us, and we are good to go. These are some of the things that affect our very survival. That if a government fails to do that, we show the government the exit. We have been too charitable to governments, and that's why they've got the penchant of doing what they are doing. The economy, nothing can save the Ghanaian economy if we don't industrialize, if we don't add value. And when are we going to do that? Issue of 1D, 1F you are talking about, and the rest of them. Some are nothing but what? White elephant. And we have sunk in a lot. Last, I was talking to a professor of economics at Legon, and he was, educating me on some of the things that really had affected our economy. And I asked myself, I said, wow, how can we fix that? Look at even buildings that we are put up and they are in the bush. Have you thought about the fact that we took resources to erect them? And have you put what effective use on them? Have you ensured prudence and all that? And these are the little things that take us to the IMF, where
right. Hello, Doc. Doc's feed seems to have been frozen. Okay, Doc, I can hear you now. Could you quickly wrap on that point so we get into other papers?
So I'm saying that going forward, we need to put our acts together and make sure that what we tell the people we deliver at the end of the day. And when we fail, people must muster the courage and throw government out through elections.
Right. I said we would move on, but just quickly on the international front, former Ghana Twitter employees having anxiety attacks, and some of Twitter's former employees in Africa have told the BBC that they are tired of the drawn-out negotiations over their severance pay. On Monday, the BBC reported that the social media company had been silent since May on all negotiations with the ex-employees, lawyers, following the massive layoffs in November last year, including Ghana. I hear even the Ghana caucus has been blocked by Elon Musk. And that their severance pay has not been given to them. They are being treated very differently from those in other parts of the world, the United States, among others. Again, it talks about how porous our systems are, so that we can allow these foreign entities to do whatever they like over here. Why should other people in different jurisdictions be treated differently from those in Ghana, for example? Russia grain deal exit stab in the back. That's according to Kenya. We know that the Russians are saying the deal in the Black Sea may have to come to an abrupt end. And Russia's withdrawal from the deal, allowing Ukraine to safely export grain through the Black Sea, is a stab in the back for those in drought-hit countries. Kenya, the Kenyan government has said. But let's move on quickly from there to the Daily Guide newspaper. ADB MD endorses a Kumfi factory model. Akosia Menu files for Adenta seat. And yesterday she was telling my colleague Evans Mensah that she is funding her campaign through funds being generated by, I think, family, friends, so colleagues from school and all of that. I found it rather interesting. Bawumia campaign team unveiled. Sammi Awuku leads. Refund MP aspirants money. MPP NEC says so. And Jachikwesin trial resumes. Let's go to page 3 and just do those stories there very quickly. So, the National Executive Committee of the ruling New Patriotic Party has urged all regional executive committees of the party to immediately cease issuing any orders on the conduct of parliamentary primaries in orphan constituencies. It also wants all money taken from prospective parliamentary candidates pursuant to these, quote, unauthorized and unapproved directives be refunded to them in line with the letter and spirit of this communication. The NEC, in a statement issued and signed by the party's General Secretary, Justin Kodia Frimpong, said its attention had been drawn to, quote, various directives issued by some regional executive committees to aspiring candidates on the conduct of the party's upcoming parliamentary primaries in, quote, orphan constituencies. The directives include, but are not limited to, the fixing of tentative dates for the conduct of the parliamentary primaries. It goes on and on. Let me just get to this. So, typhoon lashes China as the extreme weather grips Asia. A lot there to talk about. And in the entertainment spread, Akon admits pretending to be African prince. And he has confessed to lying about his background in the past, pretending to be an African prince. Well, it's good that he's now come out to say what is. And then Michi, I'm talking about Shatta Michi, empowers youth with hustle. Anyway, those are the stories there. Any reactions to this bit about a refund for MP aspirants' money? Doc?
I think I'll look at that. If you look at what they are talking about, then the problem stems from the fact that institutions either are broken down within the party or are very weak. And when I say institutions, I'm talking about the rules, the procedures, the processes, the norms, and what have you. Any party worth a salt is supposed to have institutions that stand the test of time. And at each point in time, communication comes through, but it comes from a directed source where it is known, verified, and you check the recipient whether they received the right information. So I'm surprised that to hear that people give conflicting information to the extent that now the party is saying that whatever monies that you have received from such people, you should refund them. Going forward, I think that this doesn't augur well for a party such as MPP, which prides itself with rule of law. They believe that all these things can be fixed if the team put its acts together and ensure that communication comes from a particular source and then filters through the process and get to everybody at the right time.
Right.
That's the way to go.
Let's wrap up with these stories. I'll take something from The Finder, the Ghanaian publisher, and The New Publisher. The Finder newspaper regurgitates some of the stories we've already looked at. Ghana, Portugal signed defense and economic pacts. There's also Access Bank acquires Standard Chartered in 5 countries. But there's Agenda 111 bricks suppliers cry foul over unilateral substitution of compressed earth bricks with cement blocks. That's the major story there, and I'm going to take a look at it. So compressed earth bricks, that is CEB, which can reduce cost by between 20 and 40% in the construction of Agenda 111 health facilities, has been ditched, squeezing the manufacturers engaged to supply the bricks into serious financial crisis. The manufacturers imported at least 20 specialized machines and accessories with an average price of each machine pegged at over $45,000, depending on its capacity. Now, by unilaterally substituting compressed earth bricks with sandcrete blocks, The manufacturers who contracted bank loans to invest say they cannot serve the loans and will be forced to sell their personal assets to pay them off. Now, apart from the cost savings, the use of the BRICS will help reduce Ghana's carbon footprint to attain sustainable development goals on climate change and achieve carbon neutrality. But my problem here, Doc, the point that it appears it's almost as though we didn't know where we wanted to go. So you tell people something, look at the buffer stock and how they have struggled with dealing with suppliers. Now here we are, those who are supposed to supply BRICS for Agenda 111 are also saying this is what is happening to us. You make them contract loans, they purchase this equipment, and now you change from the CEB to Sancrete blocks. What do you expect them to do? Look at the cost of securing loans at this point in time. What are your expectations of them? Then there is the Ghanaian publisher, Obi Amwa, condemns acrimony among aspirants, of course, the party's aspirants. But this one is the story I'm going to do. Minister slams Kennedy Japan, tells him to stop acting greedy, or greedily, if you like. So that story, let me just get to it. The Member of Parliament for Takrady, Kwabena Ochre Darko Mensah, has taken a swipe at the outspoken businessman and MP for Asin Central, Kennedy Japan. According to Mr. Darko Mensah, who is also the Western Regional Minister, Mr. Japan is acting greedily and unfairly attacking the government and a fellow contender in the race, Vice President Dr. Bawumia. Speaking in an interview on Takrady-based Radio 360 on Monday, the minister shielded Bawumia from a scathing attack by Mr. Japan, who recently blamed Bawumia for Ghana's economic woes. And there's a lot he's been saying on that trajectory. And finally, Akoto woos delegates with plantain trees. That's the New Publisher newspaper. How is he doing that? That story is on page 3, and I'm talking about Dr. Akoto Friye. So former Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Akoto, who prides himself as having transformed Ghana's agricultural sector, is leaving nothing to chance and uses that as a major trump card. Now, guess what he's been showing up with recently? During the campaigns, the plantain tree was displayed as a symbol of the Planting for Food and Jobs program implemented by Dr. Akoto as Minister of Agriculture from 2017 to January 2023. So he has been displaying plantain trees and saying, look, this is what you can expect should I become president someday. Quick thoughts?
Yeah, I'll talk about the minister slamming Kennedy Japan. I'm surprised the minister is taking such a position. For me, it's nothing but hypocritical, because we have also received reports in the media while the vice president has also been attacking Mr. Japan. What do you expect? You think Mr. Japan will not respond? I'm not a spokesman for Mr. Japan, but I'm looking at the issue fairly, because if there are statements that the vice president had made directed towards Mr. Japan, obviously Mr. Japan will respond. But what we are saying is that if the party doesn't take care, these things will ruin them the more, because if those who are contesting for position, they decide not to go on the route of having messages, real messages that resonate with the people, but try to engage in character assassination, they will end up destroying themselves, and one of them will emerge victorious, by which time the person has been destroyed already. So I'm wondering, if such a situation arises, how are they going to repair the damaged image of that person if they really want to sell the person to Ghanaians for elections? It's going to be a difficult one, and I expect the Council of Elders to put their foot down without fear or favor. It seems to me the Council of Elders has been too slow, too sluggish in dealing with this situation, because it's getting out of hand. There are real issues that should confront them, and that should be the thing that should engage the attention of those who really want power. But character assassination, outbursts, unnecessary outbursts and insult and all that doesn't gel well for a party that really wants to maintain power and continue the forward march of the democratic agenda. I believe the time is now for well-meaning members of the party to call all aspirants and then let them walk them through certain code of conduct so as to save themselves. Otherwise, then there are more difficulties ahead of them. I am not a prophet of doom, but from where I sit, I can see that.
Right. Well, Doc, thank you so much for joining us. As always, refreshing having you, and we wish you the best of the day, sir.
Thank you. I wish you a good day, sir.
All right. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist, also director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. As we cap off the conversation today, I have to remind you that this segment always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Now, they're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. Make tracks to any of their branches dotted across the country. Locate them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard. There's Kumasi Krono Maboyhian behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Asiama Nzema. Their call lines are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But we still have a lot more coming your way this morning in sports. Up next.